All right, so check it out. Today we got a back test, all right, using Python, but I gotta admit that the last YouTube video I put out, sequential SMT, was wrong. Okay, so in digging deeper into it, I found the error, and it's basically the files that I got from databento.com. They have to be kind of consolidated and put together because of the different ES contracts when they change, and something was wrong right there. So the data was skewed, and in this video, the data is going to be good, but it kind of sucks because the results of everything are less probable. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so quick disclaimer, this is for educational research purposes only. It's not financial advice, trade recommendation, or guarantee of future results. Okay, future trading involves substantial risk. It's not suitable for every trader. Back-tested results are hypothetical and may differ from live execution because of slippage, commissions, liquidity, platform data, execution rules. All right, with that being said, let's check it out. So today we're going to correct the data from the video I made before, and we're going to add something to it, which is symmetrical. Symmetrical 90-minute sequential SMT with ES versus NQ. Okay, so I have all the data from the baseline, which was in the video that I made before, and then we're going to add the symmetrical part to it. I know one of Days from Quarterly Theory, one of his students posted a video not too long ago talking about symmetrical sequential SMT is more of a higher probable setup, and it helps you identify which sequential SMTs are better. And I thought I'd put that to the test. And I honestly thought the results were going to be better than what they were for that, but you'll see otherwise now. So let's look at raw data. Okay, I want to prove and show that this is working, that the code is picking it up the way it's supposed to, that it reflects back, from the historical data to the chart. So we'll look at a few of these. All right, so let's just look at some randoms. We got this is a good one right here. It looks like this one should have hit a 7R, and it's going to be from December 18th, 2025. So let's pull up the chart, and then I'll go through what symmetrical means as well. Okay, so we got ES on the left side, NQ on the right side. December 18th, 2025. Okay, let's drop down to the 5-minute, because with 90-minute sequential SMT, you're going to use the 5-minute chart. Okay, and let's see what time it's at. So it's at 18:10, which will be 16:10 my time. So it's going to be from this small block because it's the end of the day and into the open of the next day. Okay, so we got low of a quarter. So here's your quarters down here, 90-minute quarters. So that's the high. Nope, that's going to be into the next quarter. Let's see what this trade is. So this is going to be a bullish trade. Symmetrical just basically means that the 90-minute quarterly low or high that we're looking for divergence on, or for sequential SMT on, is identical on both assets. Okay, so NQ's this low for this little quarter, this is the lowest of that quarter, and if you look on NQ, it's the same low, so it's symmetrical. Okay, and then in the next quarter we ran it right here on ES, ran it. NQ, we had the failure swing. Okay, so the code right after the 5-minute closes that ran the previous lower high, the next 5-minute is when it records a trade. So it'll be that one right there because we ran it at 16:05, and then stop loss is going to be just right under the invalidation there. And so this says my entry is 25,216. Let me make sure that's entry. Yeah, entry price 25,216.50. And that's it. Look, 25,216.50 right on the dot. All right, and it says we should have gotten a 7R. Okay, let's go up there. And the data tells me 7R would have took like 8 hours. So it's going to be a while, but let's check it out. We'll just play it out fast forward it. We shouldn't break the stop loss at all. We should get up here, which we did. Okay. All right, let's look at one more. And this is just for the sense of accuracy, okay? Showing that the data is indeed 100% accurate. So the next one, let's look for, this one's a 2R. 2R, and it's going to be December 22nd, 2025. It's going to be a bullish entry, and it's going to be at 1405, which is going to be 1205 my time. This is the candle, so we should have a symmetrical low. Okay, so we got, that's our quarter. And the low of this quarter is symmetrical, same on ES and NQ to that 5 minute. We run it on ES, but NQ respects it. So the next candle after the run is where the entry would be, and the stop loss right underneath. And this says it should get a 2R. Yep, 2R. It's a little bit over 2R right there. Boom. So let's look at the data. Okay, so we are looking at the 90-minute sequential SMT with ES versus NQ. And we have the baseline versus symmetrical, which basically means the symmetrical is the same lower high to the 5 minute candle on both assets. All right. Baseline just basically means the lower high was put sometime in within that 90-minute block, but they're not in the same. Well, it includes symmetrical, but it also includes where it is non-symmetrical. Okay. So ES versus NQ, previous high or low does not need to be symmetrical for the baseline. Symmetrical are only setups where ES and NQ made the previous 90-minute high or low in the same 5 minute candle. Entry is the divergence candle closes, then the entry is opened on the next 5 minute candle, and the risk stop is about 1 tick below the non-conforming symbol's previous 90-minute high or low. So whatever asset didn't take the previous high or low is the one that we're trading. I guess you can call it the failure swing asset. Okay, and continuity. So quarter one looks back to prior days, quarter 16. Quarter 16 trades are not forced close at session end. So when the markets close, it won't just close the trade. That's the way the code looks at it. It'll keep carrying it over until the next session open. If the next session happens to gap down and stop you out, then it'll close it right there. So if you're not familiar with quarterly theory, basically you have 16 90-minute quarters in a day, which is 4 quarters, 4 90-minute quarters in the daily cycle, which the daily cycle is 4 quarters in 1 day. All right. So quarter 1, quarter 2, or you could just take a picture or something of this. These are the time frames in New York time of the 16 90-minute quarters. Okay, overall comparison. So on the baseline, just any 90-minute sequential SMT recorded in the last 2 years. All right, this is from March of 2024 to March of 2026. You got just over 4,500 trades recorded, and adding the symmetrical component to it, you had only 3,150 in trades. So almost a 14 to 1,500 trade difference. Okay, so of this baseline, the trades that hit a 1R hit at 45% of the time, 2R 30%, 3R 22%, and adding the symmetrical component actually decreased the probability. Not by much, but it did. Okay, so here is each 90-minute cycle comparison. So you got baseline, you have symmetrical, and you have the change. Okay, so these are baseline trades, symmetrical trades, and adding that symmetrical component to it, you had 36 less trades recorded. Of these, all right, quarter 16 tended to be the best overall when it came to a 1R, 2R, and 3R. And quarter 16 also had the least amount of trades because it's not a full quarter pretty much. So you had a lot less of trades because of the market close. All right. So you had a lot less trades. So you got less trades, less data. And that's probably why you have a higher percentage there too. So me personally, I'm not even going to consider quarter 16. Okay. So quarter 7, quarter 4, 6, 10, 14, you had a lot more trades, a lot more data to record from. And your base 1R, 45%, and your symmetrical improved it by a couple percent. Looks like quarter 10 for at least a 1R is the best, where you have just over 50% on the base and symmetrical. If you want to take a picture, we're going on to the next slide. Okay, here's more of the 90-minute quarters. And so basically they're in order, they get worse. So it takes the average symmetrical 1R, 2R, and 3R. That's how it's ranking it. So here's the results for these quarters. Okay, and then the last 5 quarters the symmetrical component really didn't do anything good here. Next, daily quarter comparison. So quarter 1 had 981 trades, quarter 2 had 1180 for the baseline, quarter 3 1450, quarter 4 964. So for baseline and adding the symmetrical component to it, we had the most trades in quarter 3. The symmetrical, the delta right here is how many trades adding the symmetrical, the difference between the symmetrical to the baseline, and symmetrical 1R is this section, baseline 1R is this section. And as you can see, adding the symmetrical actually hurt the probabilities on 1R, 2R, and we had a basically slight increase from quarter 2 for the 3R. So nothing significant about symmetrical on the 90-minute sequential SMT for comparing it between daily quarters. And then weekday comparison. So Sunday obviously has the least amount of trades because it's a half day, and so least amount of trades but also strongest, and it's probably because there's less data. So I'm just going to dismiss Sunday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Friday we had decent amount less than through the rest of the week too. So, and base 1R, symmetrical 1R, nothing good. Honestly, anything below 50% for a 1R is just, you're better off going and putting it on black or red at the roulette table. 2R, same thing, nothing good. All right, and here is the best and worst baseline windows. Okay, so this is a little bit of a combination between the 90-minute quarter and the day. So this is where we have some improvement. Okay, so for Thursday, quarter 3, there's 50 recorded trades, all right? And so the actual sequential SMT, the break of the previous 90-minute cycle, is the quarter 3. So it's quarter 2 is where the high or low was, quarter 3 is where it actually broke, all right? So best for baseline, meaning it doesn't have to be symmetrical. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. Thursday, quarter 3, 50 trades, 56% 1R, 42% 2R. Okay, it's not bad. That's workable. It's not the holy grail, but it's workable. All right, Monday, Q14, 54% for 1R. Tuesday, 59%. That's even better. And I think that is going to be the best. For 1R is 59%. I don't want to go through the rest of them, so you could screenshot it or whatever. And let's move on. All right, best and worst for symmetrical windows. So Sunday, Q4, 41 trades, 61, almost 61% 1R. That's our best. Monday, Q14, 58. Wednesday, Q14, 58%. And honestly, that's the best it gets. Anything below, 55% lower, I don't care for it. Doesn't seem significant enough to really try to play. So summary, symmetrical did reduce trade count, which it should, because it's, basically an added filter, something we're adding to sequential SMT on the 90-minute time frame. So we got less of them, and it really didn't improve too much besides, some combination of day and quarter, but still nothing crazy. So to me, does the symmetrical really make a difference? I don't really think it does on the 90-minute sequential SMT. But that doesn't say, that doesn't mean that maybe it will for the daily quarters. So that's probably the next video I will make next is on the daily cycle sequential SMT using the 15-minute time frame. That's all I got for you guys. So I apologize about the first video, but you kind of learn and learn from the mistakes, just like trading. Learn from your mistakes, and now I know 100% this data is good, and I know what to avoid to make the mistake I did on that first video. So hope you guys like the video. If you do, make sure you like, subscribe. I'm definitely working towards putting out multiple videos every week, and so hopefully we can get deeper into this and hopefully find something that's going to have real good high probabilities for trading. All right, thank you.